let's continue the discussion. Okay, so moisture determination methods, again, if it's a direct, moisture is removed. It's the direct removal of the moisture. Even a direct naman, moisture is not removed, but it's part of the something that you can measure through the analytical techniques. Okay, direct moisture is measured gravimetrically or by any direct means. For example, the loss of weight. Okay, indirect moisture is measured based on some property or parameter of the water within the sample. Direct, high accuracy. Indirect needs to be calibrated. Why? Because here, the equipment is highly sensitive, which actually measures the water molecules present on the sample. And that needs to be calibrated. Direct, the problem is going to be time consuming and labor intensive. However, on the indirect, it's more favorable for routine analysis. Kasi iwan mo lang yan dyan siya mag-a-analyze na yung mismong equipment. However, the sample preparation may be different or may vary depending on the moisture analytical equipment are you going to use. Huh? Yeah. This is going to be the drying method or formula that is being used for moisture analysis. So based on the release of water from a sample and calculation of moisture based on the weight loss. So the percent moisture is equals to the weight, initial weight minus the dried weight times one over the initial weight times 100. Now, if you are gonna have to take a look at this formula, okay, let me just use a pen. This formula is actually uses the wet basis. Why wet basis? Because you are using the as denominator the initial weight. And when you say initial weight, this is the weight of the wet sample. Kapag hindi pa siya dried. Okay, so that's a perfect example of wet basis of the moisture content. Okay, initial and dried are the mass of the samples before and after drying respectively. Okay, now for the total solids naman, you have amount of material remaining after all the water has been evaporated. Dito, hindi mo mini-measure yung liquid. Kasi dito kapag kinuha mo yung difference nitong dalawa, you're getting the amount of water or the moisture. Kasi yun yung difference nilang dalawa. Pag si TSS naman, you are weighing the dried sample over the wet sample. That's your total solids. And for food analysis purposes, total solid is often used for expressing data on a dry basis. Okay, it's really important on that particular matter, especially those sample that contains lots of TSS. Okay? Now, consideration in drying, marami tayong dapat i-consider dyan. The sample dimension, very important. If irregularly shaped yung sample mo, it's important for you to understand that you have to cut it uniformly. Because the size and dimension of the sample has a direct effect towards the drying mechanism of the material that you are going to use. The nature of the sample, the initial moisture content, sobrang taas ba or baka naman wala na masyado? Other food components present, baka naman hindi mo siya na-homogenize ng maayos. The clumping or the crust formation. When you say clumping or crust formation class, ito yung tumitigas na yung surface niya. Nagda-dry na yung surface niya pero yung loob ay basa pa rin. What happen if there's a crust formation? And a crust formation, the capillary of the food. Kasi for example, if this is the food sample, meron niyang mga maliliit na capillary or mga butas, no? Na daanan ng moisture content. Now, if the crust formation happens, if the capillary size looks like this, ang nangyayari is, sa sobrang taas ng temperature na ginamit mo, nagsishrink na siya. Nagsishrink to the point na sumasara yung capillary mo. What will happen? There will gonna be no way for water to escape. Kaya tendency, dry ang surface, basa ang loob. Okay? This water type, whether it's a free water or bound water, of course, mas madaling mag-evaporate si free water kasi hindi naman siya bounded to any other molecules. Okay? We have the sample pan na nagagamitin. Sample plan ito ha, nagagamitin, and the temperature control present in your equipment, whether it's through hot air or you're using infrared or whatsoever. Okay, so drying methods, these are just sample methods that we use. You have the air oven drying, you have the convection oven drying, and the forced draft oven. What we have in 6th floor is a forced draft oven. The forced draft oven has also the same mechanism of convection oven drying because they uses both fan or hot air to evaporate the moisture of the sample. Then you have the vacuum oven drying, the microwave drying, and the infrared drying. Isa-isahin natin. Alright, when you say air oven drying, the convection or forced draft method, the temperatures and drying duration usually within the range of 100 to 130 degrees Celsius and a 1 to 16 hours exposure. Now, why is it important for you to at least have that factor, no, to maintain this temperature? It's because the only thing that you need to remove is just the water. And if you're gonna remember, the water boiling point of water is at 100 degrees Celsius. Pero sir, bakit bakit umaabot ng 130 degrees Celsius? That is still fine, provided that you will gonna have to dry it in a shorter period of time. And the 130 degrees Celsius will not undergo a Maillard reaction or the Amadori rearrangement of the sample. So hindi siya magba-brown because the requirement is 140 degrees Celsius para magkaroon ng Amadori rearrangement doon sa mga amino acid and carbohydrates present sa food sample that can undergo Maillard reaction or the browning reaction. Caramelization, mas mataas pa dyan. Okay, so yan lang ang kailangan nating temperature. Kaya yung siopaw class, no? Luto siya, pero kulay puti siya. Bakit kulay puti ang siopaw? It's because the siopaw is steamed. If it's steamed, the temperature in steaming water is 100 degrees Celsius. Hindi yung tataas. And that 100 degrees Celsius is enough to cook the siopaw, but not enough to turn siopaw into brown bun. Kaya pinanganak si toasted siopaw class. Kasi si toasted siopaw, bine-bake siya. At ang baking temperature ay nasa 180 degrees Celsius to 200 degrees Celsius. And that's enough for the siopaw bun to undergo Maillard reaction or the browning. Okay? Lipid oxidation and resulting sample weight gain can occur at high temperature. Ito yung tricky, no? Kapag halimbawa napunta kayo sa may sample na for example, sesame seed. Ang naging problema ng sesame seed last year, nag-release siya ng oil. It's because of the lipid oxidation. Lipid oxidation can occur at high temperature. Maaring 130 degrees Celsius may be too much for a sesame seed that promotes lipid oxidation. Kaya siya nag-release ng oil. You don't want that to happen. Why? Because once it releases the oil is hydrophobic and it will trap the moisture of the sesame seed. Okay? That is also not recommended for high sugar products. That's why in high sugar products, they're just using refractometry method. Okay? Right. So ano ba yung mga ginagamitan natin ng air oven drying? You have the pulses, the cereal and cereal products, you have the flour, you have the rice. Yung rice class and even the flour, pag hinawakan mo siya, hindi siya basa. But if you will gonna understand its moisture content, yung meron pa rin siyang 13% moisture. 10 to 13% moisture content. Kaya magugulat kayo, ay dry na to pero bakit naglo-lose pa rin siya ng weight after natin siya i-dry? It's because there's still moisture in it. Okay, so ito yung mga application natin for air oven drying. Vacuum drying naman, the principle of vacuum drying class, you're drying in a reduced pressure, 25 to 100 millimeter mercury environment. Vacuum siya. Okay, and provides a more complete removal of water without decomposition of the samples. Why? Kasi kapag sa vacuum siya class, you don't let the sample shrink. Kaya medyo almost the same pa rin yung size niya once you undergo vacuum oven drying. Because the release of moisture is freely happens in the capillary because of that pressure. Right? Drying conditions, it's just 98 to 102 degrees Celsius at a pressure of 25 to 100 millimeter mercury for 2 to 6 hours, or 60 to 70 degrees Celsius for sugar-rich foods. Kasi ayaw natin mag-undergo siya ng caramelization pag sobrang taas ng sugar. Okay, so this is just the sample mechanism. Ano? The dry inlet and saturated air outlet carry the moisture loss from the sample out of the vacuum. And this prevents accumulation of the moisture in the oven. And that outlet, that releases the vapor of the moisture present in the sample must release without affecting the vacuum condition of the chamber. In a vacuum, heat is not conducted well. So pan must be placed directly on metal shelves to conduct heat. So kung kanina si air oven, the principle of drying mechanism or heating mechanism is convective, dito si vacuum oven drying is conductive. O, lagi niyong tatandaan yung difference ng dalawa. Convective and conductive method. Convective, it uses dry air to dry the sample. Conductive, it's the direct conduction of heat from the heat source. Okay? So ano-ano ba yung pwede natin gamitan for vacuum oven application? You have the dried fruits, you have the roasted coffee, the macaroni products. Macaroni products yung elbow macaroni. Hindi kasi sa pwede class medyo basa. No? Kasi dapat may enough moisture siya for the shelf life. Okay, animal feed, flour, salt, and they also have sugar. Okay, microwave drying naman. Again, the microwave drying is like an assisted, what do you call that? A pre-processing method before drying. Para siyang assisted technology. Okay, because microwaving alone will not dry the food sample. But once you excite the, for example, kung nakakita na kayo ng, tawag dito, ng boiled egg na microwave, then pag tinusok mo siya, sumasabog. It's the same principle happens in popcorn kapag ininit mo siya. Okay? Because microwave excites the moisture within the sample. Nakita ninyo dito? Kung conductive heating, ito na lang pala illustration. Kung si conductive heating, ang heat niya ay unti-unti hanggang sa marating ng gitna. Okay? Si microwave heating, it's heating within the sample. Iniinit niya yung buong composition ng water inside the food sample. And once you excite those water molecule, madali silang lalabas. So, mas bibilis yung inyong cabinet drying, mas madaling lalabas. Pahapansin niyo naman yun, class. When you try to throw out for example, meat in a microwave, mas maraming tubig na nilalabas siya versus kapag hinayaan nyo lang siya sa ref for 24 hours. Yun kasi yung right throwing, class. If it's inside the freezer, kung gagamitin mo siya bukas, ilagay mo na sa ref. Eh, hindi pwede iwan mo sa may table or whatsoever because you're promoting microorganism to grow. Pero minsan, pag nagmamadali tayo, we just use the microwave just to thaw it out faster. Kaya lang, since nagre-release siya ng water, medyo matigas or not that juicy yung using microwave na meat. Ano? Principle, weight loss after adequate microwave heating is equivalent to the moisture content of the sample. Advantages, simplicity and the rapidity. And then you have the short analysis time that prevents possible degradation reactions. Consideration, you have the sample homogeneity and size, the sample location during drying, and the time for weighing. Kasi dapat to abrupt. You try to microwave a bread and pag mainit siya, but a few hours pag medyo lumalamig siya, para na yung bato na gumagaan. Mas sobrang tigas na niya. Yun yung effect ni microwave sa tinapay. Okay? So, saan ba siya ginagamit? Kadalasan sa meat and poultry products. We also have cheese application and the total solids of processed tomato products. No? So, these are just the methods, the point of preference that if in any case you're gonna use that in your research or in your thesis, pwede nyo siyang gamitin point of reference. Alright, next. Infrared drying. Ito yung very common kasi medyo mabilis yung drying method kapag nag-infrared drying ka. The sample is placed under an infrared lamp and its mass is recorded as a function of time. When you say function of time, meron ba akong illustration? This is a sample of infrared moisture analyzer. No, kapag inopen mo yan, wala pala akong illustration, ano? Well, when you open that, yung taas niyan ay merong infrared lamp. So, si infrared lamp, umiinit siya. Alam niyo class yung lamp na ginagamit sa toaster? Yung may ilaw. Yeah. Yun yung same heat source ng infrared lamp. Infrared moisture analyzer. So, dito, you're gonna have to place the sample in a dish and place it inside sa may loob nito. Then kapag kainon mo na siya, iinat itong infrared lamp mo and habang umiinit siya, unti-unting bumababa yung moisture content ng sample hanggang sa mag-constant weight siya. And then tutunog na lang si machine and then we're gonna calculate kung ano yung moisture content ng sample. Actually, ito yung pinakamabilis na moisture analysis equipment na para sa akin ay very useful for us. Hopefully, magkaroon tayo ng approved project from DOST. Definitely, you're gonna buy some equipment in our lab. Baka kayo yung mag-benefit kapag nangyari yun or yung mga first year ngayon. That's why I'm actually attending some series of projects with DOST. Kasi we need to have projects with them so that they're gonna give us funds to do our research. Then once we do our research, we have that money to buy equipment that we can use in our lab. Ayun kasi klase yung pinakamabilis na way for me to pull equipment para sa atin. Other than doon sa mga ginagamit or sa mga binabayaran nyo ninyong seminar, sa mga seminar classes natin or mga IGP activities ng PAF, no? Medyo maliliit lang kasi mga equipment na mabibili nun eh. Itong mga infrared, that cost 300,000 pesos and hindi natin yun kayang pagtuunan or pagbunuin, ano? Unless you will have a fund coming from the national government. Anyway, I am continuously working on that and hindi ako titigil na hanggat wala tayong na-approve na project under PUP. Okay? And hopefully kayo yung mag-benefit. Yung batch ninyo yung mag-benefit pag nag-thesis na. Alright. Next, we have the thermogravimetric analysis or the TGA. It is a mass of the sample is continuously measured as it's heated at a controlled rate in a controlled atmosphere, and a sample chamber purged with inert gas to minimize mass change due to oxidation during heating. Wait lang, class. I'll just pause for a couple of minutes. Okay, let's continue. Right? So, PGA, hindi siya ganoon ka ginagamit sa industry, sa food industry. Kasi medyo mahal ito, no? Just for the sake of familiarity about the thermogravimetric analysis. Okay? At higher temperature, the TJ allows measurement of pyrolysis or the decomposition and the percent ash. It's a multi-use multi-purpose use of equipment because you also get the percent ash of the sample, and the water content is equals to the mass loss up to 100 degrees Celsius. And the composition or volatile loss at temperatures overlapping water evaporation can lead to errors in moisture content determination. Ano yung sinasabi nating decomposition or volatile loss? Ito class yung other compound present sa food sample. And hindi mo siya pwedeng magalaw. Because any spike of the temperature will lead to the loss of volatile compounds. Ano yun? You have the phenolic compounds, you have pyrazine compounds, and mga phenols na present doon sa food sample mo. Masasama sila sa tubig. And pag nasama sila sa tubig or sa moisture, you will get an inconclusive result. Okay, kaya dapat binabantayan yung temperature. Right? Distillation method naman, it involves co-distilling the moisture in a food sample with a high boiling point solvent that is immiscible in water and collecting the mixture that distills off. Kumbaga parang para siya nag-evaporate and then kumakapit ulit dun sa distillation tube. And you're gonna have to collect that sample, that water. Okay? And by doing the distillation method, di ba yung distillation method, for example, ito, Florence flask. Nakalagay dyan yung solvent, high boiling point than water. So, nilagay niyo yung sa food sample niyo dyan. Ngayon, kapag kayan ay nag-evaporate, okay, meron kang chamber dito to the point na para siya magpapawis. And then you will gonna have to collect the moisture because of that through distillation process. And through that, you're gonna get the mass of the water and divide it to the mass of the sample, and you'll get the moisture content. Okay? Direct distillation or versus reflux distillation. Direct distillation, you have water in food distills directly from the liquid. Ito yung nakukuha mo kaagad. You have the volume of the water removed is measured. It's the Brown-Duvel method. And the reflux distillation naman, water and an immiscible solvent distill off together. And the volume of water is read out after it separates from the solvent upon cooling of the distillate. Kasi immiscible sila. That's the Dean and Stark method naman. Okay, so class, familiarize yourself lang difference between the Brown-Duvel and the Dean and Stark method. Para kapag nakakita kayo ng option na ganito sa board exam, ay alam ko, it's a distillation method uses to evaluate or to measure the moisture content of a food sample. Okay? Ito yung Dean and Stark method. Itong glassware na ito, since magko-combine silang dalawa, dito yung bababa dito will gonna be the amount of water. Okay? So since it contains graduation, you will be able to get the volume of the water. Okay? So, again, magkasama sila dito. But once it cools down, maghihiwalay sila because it's a miscible property of the solvent and the water. So yung water, pwede mong i-distill off dito pababa. Then you'll get the volume of the water. Okay? Kaya lang, we'll have some sources of errors na pwedeng mag-experience natin through distillation. You have the emulsion that can form between the water and the solvent, which are difficult to separate. Lalo na kapag medyo naging stable na siya. And water droplets can adhere to the inside of the glassware, which limits you to get the full amount of water present in the sample. Another, the decomposition of thermally labile samples can occur at elevated temperatures used in the distillation method. Okay? Advantages, minimize thermal decomposition of sample and use relatively cheap, easy to set up and operate equipment, and officially sanctioned for a number of food applications. Okay, so like you have the spices, you have the cheese, you have the animal feeds and fats and shortenings. Yan, pwede ninyong paggamitan dyan. Disadvantage lang natin dito sa distillation method, it's destructive. Kumbaga yung sample na ginamit mo, you can no longer use that anymore. Discarded na siya. And relatively time-consuming, lalo na kapag yung cooling down na sa Dean and Stark, and involves the use of hazardous solvents, less sensitive than methods using weight measurement, and not applicable to some types of food. Very specific lang yung application nito. Direct chemical methods, you have the water plus the chemical reagents, which yields to the measurable change in the properties of the system, and that makes calibration curves. Okay, and they not usually involve the application of heat. It's suitable for food that contain thermally labile substances or food that contains volatile components that might be lost by heating. Ano-ano to? Ito yung mga alcohol. Ito yung mga juices. Okay? Pag direct chemical, automatic, it's the Karl-Fischer titration or the KFT. And it's extraction of water with a suitable solvent and titration with standardized Karl-Fischer reagent. Unfortunately, we don't have a KFT in PUP. But, same principle lang naman sila class ng titration method using the usual. Kasi meron itong indicator din once you neutralize the hydrogen sulfate. Okay? Right. Modified by adding solvents, it's either iodine or the pyridine. That will gonna be the reagent used. And the endpoint for this is the dark red-brown. Kaya lang dito, class, it's once you purchase an KFT equipment, kaya niya nang i-analyze yung, or may makakapagbigay na siya ng hint kung nasa endpoint na siya. Kasi ang very common mistake natin kapag halimbawa yung typical lang na titration, yung faint pink, minsan yung faint pink sa akin may not be that faint pink sa inyo. Okay? Because of that issue on the color intensity. But through the KFT, they have that equipment already that test the actual endpoint or the dark red-brown of the food sample. Okay? Yan. Ito yung typical Karl-Fischer equipment. In UP, merong ganyan. And we use that in checking the water content of the coconut skim milk. Okay? Ano ba yung mga KFT applications natin? Could that give erratic results when heated or subjected to vacuum? Parang last resort na natin ito. And low moisture foods, you have the dried fruits and vegetables, candies, chocolates, roasted coffee, oils and fats, And sugar-rich foods, you have the sugar, honey, or molasses. And intermediate moisture foods like the bakery dough, baked products, and high volatile oil containing food. Pwede natin gamitin yan sa KFT. Difficulties lang natin dito, it's an incomplete water extraction. And there is an atmospheric moisture present. And moisture adhering to walls of unit may affect the actual reading of the moisture. And thus, the interference from certain food constituent also affect the reading. Kaya, hindi ka ganun ka-wide array yung application, but it's really direct to these food samples only. Okay? Calcium carbide method is another method na pwedeng gamitin that uses acetylene measured by the loss in weight of the mixture, pressure, or volume of the gas produced in a closed system or chamber, and the formation of the copper acetylide. And accuracy depends on fineness of grinding of interacting components, and the gas production doubled by using calcium hydride. But hindi naman ganoon ka commonly used itong calcium carbide method. Other indirect methods, ayan, yung mga refractometry, you have the hydrometry, dielectric method, the cryoscopic method. Cryoscopic method, para siyang freeze drying. Okay? Spectroscopic methods, the NIR and the NMR, and the microwave absorption or the ultrasonic absorption. Right? Okay, nawala ang presentation. Let me just present it again. Okay. Now, for the refractometry, ito ay very common na sa inyo. Ginagamit nyo na yan sa food lab, food processing pa lang. And it's based on the bending of light beam as it passes from one to another medium of the different optical densities, and involves the determination of the refractive index, limited to binary solutions, affected by temperature, pressure, and the properties of light the sample is exposed to. Kadalasan ginagamit natin yan sa fruit juices, even in honey. We're able to check the degree bricks as a TSS representative of the sample. And application for refractometry, moisture content in honey, the solids in syrups, and the soluble in fruits and fruit product or fruit juices. Hydrometry naman is the science of measuring specific gravity or the density, and it often involves the use of hydrometers or the pycnometers, and the best for binary solutions as well, similar to the refractometer kanina, and it uses for alcohol content in alcoholic beverage. Kaya yun yung ginagamit, nilulubog ninyo yung gumagawa kayo ng wine before. And the solid and sugar syrups and solids and milk as well. Okay? Dielectric method, it's based on electrical properties of water naman. And important factors to control the sample density or the weight-volume relationships and temperature. And it's useful for process control measurement. When you say process control measurement, ito kasi yung kadalasan ginagamit sa mismong linya na ng production. Whereas, if you need, for example, hindi naman, kung kailangan mo na kagad ng moisture content ng biscuit sheets, no? Kailangan namang kumuha ka pa ng small pieces, then saka mo i-run sa draft oven. Dielectric method would have the assistance in an inline assistance in measuring the moisture content of the sample. Kaya hindi na siya kailangan pang dalhin sa lab to measure. Okay? And the dielectric type meters for moisture content determination is based on the higher dielectric constant of water at 80.37 at 20 degrees Celsius relative to most solvent. And the calibration against samples of known moisture content is a prerequisite for the use of these instruments. Kadalasan, hindi naman siya magre-reflect as this graphical representation. There's already a sample to this. Hindi naman kayo chemist to check the regression or the calibration curves of the various liquids present in the sample. Okay, so limited lang ito sa mga cereal and grain, legume grains. Ayan yung pinagagamitan niya, and also sa raisins. Cryoscopic naman, ito based on the freezing point depression of binary solution as affected by solute concentration. And most constant physical property of milk used to measure for added water as the AOAC method of 961.07, whereas the 0.517 is the freezing point in degrees Celsius of all milk entering a plant. And the T is the temperature freezing point in degrees Celsius of a sample. By this, again, this is only used for milk sample. Because if you're familiar with reconstituted milk, when you say reconstituted milk class, dried yung milk powder, and then you just incorporate other ingredients para maging fresh milk sa ulit. Okay? You have to use the cryoscopic method to understand what will gonna be the amount of water that you need to add to that milk para masabi mong fresh milk siya. And we have a PNS for fresh milk that needs to follow. And with this technique, you'll be able to calculate what will gonna be the exact amount. Okay? Sa dairy industry naman ito. Yung AC method for 961.07 for water, added to milk uses a cryoscope to test the freezing points and assumes an FP for normal milk of negative 0.527 degrees Celsius. Si water kasi is 0 degrees Celsius. And the difference between the FPs of milk and water is slight. Method should be precise. Kasi hindi naman ganun kalayo, no? Ang kanilang diff. Spectroscopic methods, medyo papasadahan lang natin because you'll have to report this data naman. Now, the near-infrared spectroscopy and the nuclear magnetic resonance. No? NIS, it's based on the measuring the absorption of radiation of wavelengths characteristic of the molecular vibration in water. And these wavelengths actually gives you the regions of 960, 1150, 1405, and 1905 to 2000 nanometer. And this actually, the purplish part of the wavelength or of the spectrum rather. Okay? And the 1940 NM, superior for moisture content prediction due to an almost complete absence of interference from other food ingredients. Yan yung ginagamit na visible region for NIS. Advantages ng NIS natin, it's non-destructive, minimal or no sample preparation, it's precise, and no reagents required and no waste produced, multi-analytical, simple to operate and sensitive instrument. The disadvantages is dependence on time-consuming and laborious calibration procedures and complex data treatment. Okay? Applications natin, kadalasan ginagamit siya sa milk, fat, moisture, and protein, and meat products using the AOAC method of 2007.04. The NMR naman, it utilizes the nuclear properties of protons. Challenge is differentiating the proton NMR signal of water from other hydrogen-containing substances in the food. So it uses for cereal grains, oil seeds, and AOC has recommended practice of AK495. Ito yung para naman sa oil chemistry. Okay? Advantages ni NMR, very rapid analysis, accurate, non-destructive, applicable to many types of foods, and can differentiate between free and bound water. Particle size and packing of granular samples have no effect on signal absorption. Disadvantages, cost of equipment is high, separate calibration curves are required for different substances, not applicable to food having variable lipid contents. Okay, so the next topic after our midterm will gonna be the fat content determination. But I want you to work on with the formula for moisture content. Very basic lang yan. Yeah. Okay. And again, very basic lang naman siya. And you just need to understand the question. Okay? So may mga ilalagay ako sa inyong midterm exam na calculation related to this formula. Right? So I will just post this recording in our LMS. So just watch it anytime you want. And I'm going to upload as well the PowerPoint material. You may also read the ebook that I provided to you related to moisture content analysis. And if in any case that you have questions, just feel free to comment in the post, in the forum na nandoon sa ating LMS. Okay? So with that, thank you so much, class, and good luck for your midterm examination.